Are you looking for a family MPV? Well, you're out of luck because there aren't many around, so you have no choice but to look for a family SUV. Either way, you really don't care what you're going to drive, so you may just as well end up with the Skoda Kodiaq. This is the second generation of the Czech export hit, which sells better in Germany and the UK than it does in its home country. Let's find out if it's as good as the Germans and the Brits think it is. I also recorded a comparison of the new Skoda Kodiaq and the facelifted Kia Sorento. Channel members get to watch this video early and without ads.
Skoda is part of the Volkswagen Group, so you can be sure facelifts are so subtle you can barely notice them, and new generations can be mistaken for facelifts. Although the second generation Skoda Kodiaq is 6 cm longer than its predecessor and now measures almost 476 cm in length, it's basically a result of 3 cm longer overhangs front and rear, while the wheelbase remained virtually unchanged at 279 cm. At just over 186 cm, the new Kodiaq is around 2 cm narrower than its predecessor, but this could be a matter of differently shaped fenders, because the interior feels about the same. The new Kodiaq is also about 168 cm high, which is some 2 mm lower than the outgoing model, and this is reflected in 2 mm lower ground clearance. So, has anything changed? The headlights. You may not notice at first, so I'll tell you, the first generation facelift model had seemingly obsolete indents in the bumper, which are now filled with the wider lower parts of the headlights. And the upper part of the headlights is now a bit thinner. Also, these are second generation LED matrix headlights.
What does it mean? Apparently, there are 50% more light sources and they are 15% brighter. And this should mean better lighting of the road, while at the same time more fluid cutting out of other vehicles so as not to dazzle other drivers. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show it to you because on the third day of the test I saw a bunch of error messages related to all the front camera based systems, such as traffic sign recognition, collision warning, lane keeping assist, or the automatic headlights. The grille features some bling, which is reflected in the stripe running across the tailgate, and there are new tail lamps as well. This really sounds like a facelift. The biggest change visible from the side is the D-pillar with satin finish on the Selection trim and piano black finish on the Sportline trim. And this is also new. Only 2 trims, but both with a lot of kit as standard. The VW Group brands are known for a creative approach to many issues. For example, emissions or boot capacity. As I explained earlier, the second generation Kodiaq has almost identical external dimensions to the first generation, and I would assume the inside is the same. However, boot capacity has magically exploded from 720 liters in 2017 through 835 liters after the facelift to 910 liters in the second generation. Let's assume the boot has 120 centimeters depth, is 110 centimeters wide and 55 centimeters high to the window line. Assuming a regular cuboid, we'd have 726 liters, and in order to expand said cuboid to 910 liters, we'd have to make the boot 15 centimeters deeper and wider. Skoda designers may be simply clever, but not that clever.
I assume the exorbitant cargo volume was achieved by measuring the boot of a unicorn base spec 5-seater with front-wheel drive, no spare wheel with the seats in their second row pushed all the way forward, backrest set vertically, etc. And maybe then they managed to achieve 910 liters. What you see here is about 550-600 liters, depending on the floor position, and with the seats pushed forward all the way, we may get close to 720 liters, reported back in 2017. Also, this is a Skoda, and I don't see many simply clever gadgets. It seems Skoda no longer boasts about them in its press release. There is only mention of the umbrellas in the doors and the ice scraper being responsibly manufactured. Okay, there are levers to fold the second row backrests, but these don't go all the way down. You have to go around and push them to lock flat. The shopping bag hooks are large, and the cargo cover fits under the boot floor. The floor has a hook, which means you can go about arranging stuff in the boot and the floor won't hit you in the head.
No changes in the rear, a lot of legroom with the seats all the way back, and still decent amount of legroom with the seats all the way front, leaving some space for passengers in the optional third row.
By the way, in the first generation, the proportion of clients choosing 5 or 7 seat versions was 60-40, just like the seat splits. However, the backrest splits 40-20-40, and the backrest angle is adjustable. There is third zone climate control, 2 USB-C ports, a 12-volt outlet, side seats are heated, there are pockets in the front seat backs, in the doors, and there are cup holders in the armrest.
More noticeable changes are in the cockpit, and one could assume this is enough for a new generation. However, due to new regulations regarding safety systems and resulting need to further digitize the cars, some brands changed entire interfaces and cockpit layouts without waiting for the facelift or new generation. Like BMW, for example, where traditional cockpit was replaced by a 2-screen panel from a given production week, depending on the model.
Skoda now also has 2 displays. No more analog instrument cluster, also the gear selector is behind the steering wheel like on VW ID models or in the Skoda Enyaq. Manual gearbox is no longer an option, so there was no point occupying real estate on the tunnel, where we now have more space for a double wireless charger, cup holders, cubbies, and even a wiper for the screen. An interesting design exercise are the 3 physical multifunction dials. The 2 on the sides are for temperature and seat heaters, as well as seat ventilation if the car is equipped in this option. The middle knob can control volume, fan speed, fan direction, or map zoom. In the PHEV variant, it apparently can also control powertrain modes. Next to the knobs are some buttons for basic climate-related functions. Everything else is on the infotainment screen.
The infotainment system it didn't crash, but its logic eludes me. For example, in order to turn off ESP or put it on in sport mode for some reason, you have to go into the main menu, click vehicle, then select the vehicle view, then select brakes, and this is where ESP settings are. Now, how often do you need to access those settings? Probably not very often, so it's fine if they're buried deep down in the menu, right? Well, no, because this one time I'll really need to turn ESP off, I won't remember where to look. Let's imagine I'm on a family skiing trip and I get stuck in a parking lot in the snow. Not a problem, I've got an SUV with all-wheel drive, I just need to turn off ESP to get some momentum. The kids are screaming, of course, and the missus is giving me the I should have married Andrew talk, because clearly we're all going to die in the parking lot next to the fish and chips joint, but that doesn't matter because she's already imagining herself in the arms of some lumber sexual high school crush. Now, I'm trying not to panic and find a bloody ESP setting off to get us unstuck and salvage any remaining dignity I have. Did I paint a realistic enough picture? Anyway, moving on.
Skoda cleverly uses new upholstery to mask that not much has changed inside beside the new screens. There is still a double glove box, storage under the armrest is slightly different, but the door pockets are still big. Of course, this and other upholsteries are more responsible than you when you cut out the plastic window from the envelope to separate your recycling properly. I like this design selection lounge upholstery, though I imagine it's not something for families with small kids. They'll probably choose responsible leather, aka the recycling envelope window, and your other trash. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a beige option anymore, just black or brown. The seats are very comfortable, they have a broad range of adjustment, and settings can be saved with buttons regardless of driver profiles, which aren't really necessary unless you want to take advantage of some additional PHEV settings.
Skoda Kodiaq is available either with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The base engine is a 1.5-litre TSI, or ETSI in VW speak, 150 horsepower engine. As you're watching this, the 2-litre 204 horsepower TSI petrol engine with all-wheel drive should also be available to order. Then we have a 2-litre diesel 150 horsepower front-wheel drive or 193 horsepower all-wheel drive. And finally, there is the 1.5-litre TSI-based PHEV with front-wheel drive and system output of 204 horsepower. The claimed electric range is more than 100 kilometers, and there's even 50 kilowatt DC charging.
This test car is the all-wheel drive diesel. Claimed 0 to 100 km/h time is 7.8 seconds. There are no eco, normal, sport or off-road modes, just a sport setting for the gearbox and sport ESP. The sport ESP along with the sport gearbox setting unlock launch control. Yes, your 2-litre diesel has launch control, and that allows it to achieve 7.8 seconds from standstill to 100 km/h. In normal mode, it's 8 seconds and a bit, because the computer is trying to keep emissions in check. Fuel economy driving normally is in the low 7s combined. Skoda promises between 6 and 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers combined.
The suspension is, in my opinion, too stiff, but I suppose you can do yourself a favor and skip the optional 20-inch rims. Driving impressions are like in a family SUV. It goes straight, it goes around corners kind of, it brakes. I have a feeling soundproofing has improved slightly since the last generation, and that's even without the optional front side acoustic windows. That, or I'm just going deaf with age. So many driver aids are mandatory these days that there's no point listing what this car has as standard. You can turn off ESA with a couple of clicks of buttons on the steering wheel, same with lane keeping assist, which is still too aggressive for my liking. If it works, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, all front camera based systems stopped working. Maybe it's enough to disconnect the battery terminal and everything will reset itself. I don't know. Maybe it's a bigger service job. I don't know, but I don't like it. This is a brand new car.
Skoda offers several park assist features. Actually, it offers 2 and the third one will come soon. The third one is remote parking via the app. The car will be able to park perpendicular or parallel in a selected spot, while the driver controls it remotely via the app. Of course, you have to be within 4 meters from the car for it to work. Then there's your regular automatic parking in a spot which the car sees, but the driver is behind the wheel. And finally, there is so-called trained parking. The car remembers the location and maneuvers and repeats them to park. Here I encountered the same problem as in the VW ID.5. Skoda is unable to drive up a small incline in my driveway. And now let's do my all-wheel drive diagonal approach test. I stop halfway up this incline so that 2 wheels on the diagonal have limited traction, and then I try to get going again. Since there are no off-road modes, I just tried normal mode with ESP on and off. It's clear the Skoda hasn't been designed for this, but in the dry it made it okay. Good luck in the snow. She should have married Andrew. Andrew drives an old Defender and I hope she freezes her skinny bum off in it. Prices of the second-generation Skoda Kodiaq start at €41,990 for the front-wheel drive mild hybrid in Selection trim. It costs €4,500 extra to get the sport line. The cheapest diesel costs €3,500 more than the petrol, and a PHEV will set you back at least €48,500. This all-wheel drive diesel in Selection trim with options costs €61,500.
The Skoda Kodiaq offers a lot of interior space, decent performance, and it's not ridiculously expensive, because expensive it is. And the electronics don't inspire confidence. Remember the good old days when we used to worry about electronic gremlins acting up in a 10-year-old car? And what do you think about the second generation Skoda Kodiaq? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.